4 actors had secret underground tunnels directly from their homes to the Playboy Mansion.
Whoa.
Jack Nicholson, James Caan, Warren Beatty, and Kirk Douglas.
Sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
Tunnels leading to a private grotto.
Is it the Playboy Mansion? Because I know the Playboy Mansion for sure.
No, had tunnel. It's his own.
Looking deeper, a review of Los Angeles County property records shows no permit for extensive tunneling beyond standard pool excavation building permits for the 2014 renovation list, only swimming pool construction and retaining walls all publicly. Filed and approved, geotechnical survey reports also on record describe soil composition down to 30 ft, but make no mention of bored tunnels or reinforced shafts. Moreover, historical aerial photos from 2010 to 2020 show undisturbed ground patterns around the grotto, indicating no major digging took place. So even if there are tunnels beneath the property, Diddy has ensured that no hard evidence of them can be found on any public records or an online domain. Like Google Maps, whatever was developed was constructed far before and in a very hush-hush, off-the-books method to maintain.
The FBI discovered a tunnel this morning that the rapper had made in his home, connected to the basement of a former Michael Jackson home.
There is an underground mansion.
The officers found strange items on the floor, such as children's clothing.
Actually terrifying to know that this exists.
They just uncovered tunnels underneath his house.
Diddy's?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
A lawyer for Sean Diddy, Combs, has quit, leaving the rapper's legal team ahead of his sex trafficking trial. In New York federal court, Anthony Rico filed a motion to withdraw as one of Diddy's 6 defense lawyers yesterday. He didn't give an explanation, but wrote, "Under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel." He did not elaborate as to why. A judge still has to sign off on the request. Sean Diddy Combs faces charges including sex trafficking. He has pleaded not guilty.
One of the lawyers representing Sean Diddy Combs in his sex trafficking case is quitting. Anthony Rico filed notice in Manhattan federal court Thursday, writing, quote, "Under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel." Rico, one of 6 attorneys for the music mogul, did not offer any other details. Combs has pleaded not guilty to the charges, saying he did nothing wrong. His trial is set to begin in May.
And here's the swimming pool. So obviously right now you can't make out how big this place actually is, but stick around to the end of this video and we're gonna watch sunrise and check out the exterior. All right, let's see the inside of this place. Okay, I'm walking inside. From the backyard, I stumble upon a dark set of stairs leading down under the house, right into the basement. It smells like mildew here in the basement. It's not a good sign. The air is getting cooler as I walk through the open door, swallowed by the darkness. The faint hum of a machine immediately catches my ear. Perhaps the HVAC system left on to fend off the mold creeping through the lower levels.
Leave your take below. Do you believe there's a network of tunnels under Diddy's properties? Or is this simply sensational?
Attorney backs out. That's not a good look. Now, there could be a variety of reasons as to why this happened, and we all get that. I understand that. But anytime an attorney backs out, particularly of a high-profile case like this, is not a good look, and I'm going to tell y'all why. Because if you are an attorney, the more acclaim your client has, the more popularity your client has, the more recognition and notoriety your client has, the more you benefit from a positive outcome in favor of that client. So that client, if Sean Diddy Combs gets off sex trafficking and racketeering charges and the jury finds him not guilty months from now and he's able to walk out the courtroom a free man, you know how good that makes those attorneys look? Everybody will be clamoring for the cameras. An attorney walking away, sometimes it's because they don't get the lead chair or one of the lead chairs. Sometimes it's because a client is lying. Sometimes it's because they believe wholeheartedly that the client is going to be guilty and they don't want to be associated with that guilt because that's a loss on their record. It could be a variety of things, but the fact that we are speculating about that when the trial date hasn't even started yet concerns me, because I'm one of those people, ladies and gentlemen, who firmly believes it's virtually impossible to find a jury that's not contaminated by some kind of information that's been put out to the public before a trial begins?
Potentially. It could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his 1B. And I know obviously there's other lawyers on the case. Obviously, a lot of the victims are female. They're going to want female lawyers on the defense team, especially during some of the aggressive cross-examination. That tends to be the conventional wisdom when you're dealing with victims who are alleged victims of sexual assault or abuse. And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented them in such a way that he has to get off the case. So it could be any number of potential conflicts.
Anthony Rico has been part of Diddy's defense team since September. So he appeared in court with Diddy when he was first arraigned and pled not guilty to the charges. And Anthony has been kind of this almost kind of public kind of support figure for Diddy as his lawyer. In court, he stands up and points out that Diddy's, children have traveled long distances to be there. He sits next to Diddy, during the hearing, they're talking, they're laughing. So they seem to have kind of a more personal relationship maybe than with, Diddy's other lead defense attorneys who are kind of the ones up in front of the judge. And this past week, he just suddenly files a motion saying that he's withdrawing from the case. And there's not too much detail given, but clearly there was a fork in the road about, something having to do with this case. And he says, like he heard that under no circumstances can he effectively serve as his defense counsel.
It seems that embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is selling his LA mansion. The Holmby Hills estate was the site of a federal raid that Fox 11 first broke back in March. According to TMZ, Combs is looking to sell the off-market for $70 million. The raid was part of a sex trafficking investigation. A grand jury now hearing evidence in that probe. Meanwhile, Diddy is still facing several lawsuits linked to multiple sex abuse allegations. Diddy has denied those allegations.
Jay-Z's name did not originate from court filings until it became popular after the Diddy incident. It was the result of quiet.
They found underground tunnels at Diddy's homes. This was first brought up by Shadow of Ezra, where he talked about the underground tunnels in Diddy's luxurious Los Angeles mansion. It was an underwater swimming tunnel leading to a mysterious grotto, reminiscent of an ancient and modern human use of caves. Now, this is all alleged, of course, but they say that this tunnel connects to the Playboy Mansion. You guys remember that? Hugh Hefner, the guy who lived with all those women in his mansion? There's no available evidence right now. However, reports are noting that Combs' mansions do have a pool with an underwater swimming tunnel. They say it's not connected to the Playboy Mansion, but there is a reason why the Playboy Mansion keeps coming up. 10 years ago, they were building underground tunnels to the Playboy Mansion for people like Jack Nicholson for his birthday. So this way, they don't have to go through the outside, but go underground in secret to the Playboy Mansion to do God knows what. You can see the sketches here of these underground tunnels being built. They were working on it, and it was supposed to connect celebrities like Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, Michael Jackson, just to name a few. As reported by People magazine, these underground tunnels to the Playboy Mansion were sealed off in the 1980s. The question is, do you believe that? Stay safe and be smart.
An editor for Playboy was digging around the office for old pictures and made an interesting discovery. In the 70s and 80s, 4 actors had secret underground tunnels directly from their homes to the Playboy Mansion.
Whoa.
Jack Nicholson, James Caan, Warren Beatty, and Kirk Douglas. The Playboy editor came across photos from 1977 that showed a large excavation project at the mansion. After doing some research, he found blueprints for the tunnels that led to these guys' homes, which were all pretty close to the mansion. They don't exist anymore. They were closed in 1989, the same year Hugh Hefner married playmate Kimberly Conrad. Hefner didn't want to talk about the tunnels, and reps for Nicholson, Kahn, Douglas, and Beatty wouldn't comment either.
There's creeping, and there's dig a tunnel to the Playboy Mansion creeping.
The Diddy dungeon theory.
Oh, how there's tunnels underneath his house?
And how
That's
Michael
crazy.
Jackson in the song says, I always feel like somebody's watching me and I have no privacy. Because supposedly there's a tunnel connected from Diddy's house to Michael Jackson's house.
No way.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I
That's
actually
a
did
big
not
one
know
right
that.
now. So I fact checked this whole thing. There's only proof that in Diddy's pool, there's tunnels leading to a private grotto. And
Is it the Playboy Mansion? Because I know the Playboy Mansion for sure.
No.
Had tunnel.
It's his own house. So according to the website, it has a private theater that can fit 35 people. And the most curious thing about his property is that the underwater tunnel connected to a grotto is inside a mansion.
Oh, damn.
So that kind of backs up the fact that it's Michael Jackson's house because they live close to each other.
Now for those hidden tunnels buried underneath the mansion.
Here we go. Down the tunnel.
Secret tunnel to the pool. How cool is that?
Did you find the second one?
Yeah, for sure.
Another tunnel. Oh, you're going fast at that thing.
Reporters for the Los Angeles Times mentioned that Diddy's home does feature an underwater swimming tunnel leading to a grotto, complete with custom lighting and stonework.
Diddy's got tunnels underneath his house.
No.
5 tunnels leading to 5 other houses in that area.
What houses?
Dude, someone said Michael Jackson's old house.
Believe it.
Saw that photo, how
Blindly.
close he was to a port.
Because he's getting linked.
port?
He's getting linked to crimes that involved
It's a shipping
containers.
It's a shipping yard.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're buying a house that big, why do you want a shipping yard in the background if you're not doing something in that shipping yard?
Maybe he was just a huge investor in baby oil.
Maybe.
Needed to have his eyes on the
product.
on the product at all times.
Baby.
Psych.
Oh.
He did really bad things.
Yep. This is the biggest sexual assault lawsuit ever to exist in American history. Like,
Dude,
this
I
is,
love it.
It's
I don't love it. I love that. I hate
love it. We're breaking.
Secret cameras and sinister secrets. Diddy's possible influence on Jay-Z.
Days after Diddy's arrest, a conspiracy theory has emerged online suggesting there is a secret underground tunnel at his mansion that connects to Michael Jackson's home. According to one version of the story, a neighbor sent an anonymous tip to federal officers about unusual activity at Diddy's house. When the agents arrived, Diddy's team reportedly prevented them from entering. Despite this, the agents decided to search Diddy's newly renovated bedroom. When they moved the bed, they allegedly found a tunnel hidden under a rug and discovered children's clothes inside the passage.
You're not going to believe this, but there is, in fact, a Diddy and Michael Jackson connection.
Lately, there's been a lot of discussion around Diddy and the secret tunnels that are under his home. If you told me there were some secret tunnels in the Hollywood Hills connecting celebrities' homes, I wouldn't be surprised. This article reads, since the arrest of Diddy on charges of trafficking and racketeering, there have been a ton of details coming out about his past. And remember, earlier this year in March, his home was raided. And I'm sure it took them a long time to do this because he's got a massive property. And when it comes to those Hollywood homes, you never know what is a bookshelf, what's a secret door. And recent viral posts on TikTok and other platforms have fueled conspiracy theories suggesting that Diddy has a secret underground tunnel linking his home to Michael Jackson's LA property. These rumors surfaced following Diddy's recent legal troubles in which he faces 120 violent allegations. Some videos have even claimed that the discovery of the tunnel prompted authorities to reopen the investigation into Michael Jackson's passing. Popular Twitter account The Pop Things claimed that they found a tunnel in Diddy's home. The interior has a private theater with a capacity for 35 people, a fully equipped gym, and a wine room. The most curious thing about the property is an underwater tunnel connected to a grotto inside the luxurious mansion. A lot of people suggested that this tunnel possibly went to the Playboy Mansion because the Playboy Mansion, surprise, surprise, is located very close to Diddy's home. Other social media posts claim that the FBI found tunnels underneath Diddy's home that once connected to a basement at Michael Jackson's mansion. A TikTok claimed that his team was nervous and blocked the entrance to his house and begged them not to enter the tunnel.
The FBI discovered a tunnel this morning that the rapper had made in his home, which connected to the basement of a former Michael Jackson home. The FBI was called to the scene after an anonymous tip from neighbors reporting something strange happening since Diddy's arrest. When the agents arrived, they were greeted by his team, who seemed very nervous. They tried to block the officer's entrance, but the agents insisted and decided to search him when they entered his room. They noticed that the floor near the bed looked like it had been recently disturbed. One of the officers then moved the bed to the side. That's when they made an unbelievable discovery: an entrance covered only by a rug. Intrigued, the officers decided to go down into the passage. However, the team tried desperately to stop them, begging them not to enter the tunnel. But the officers continued anyway. The walls of the tunnel looked newly built, as if abandoned in a hurry.
So these items were collected during the federal raids, including narcotics and hundreds of bottles of lube and baby oil. There were also electronic files of these freak-offs, and the feds collected those too. In addition to all this, investigators seized AR-15 guns.
To date, the government has conducted interviews with over 50 victims and witnesses, many of whom saw or experienced the defendant's abuse. Many of these witnesses corroborate one another, and their accounts are consistent with the other types of evidence discussed below. The government only expects that number to continue to grow, given that the investigation, which is now public, is ongoing. And also, the prosecution revealed in its filing that the government has seized more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, hard drives, thumb drives, cameras, a surveillance system that they say shows this criminal activity. So based on that, we can assume that the evidence the Southern District of New York has against Combs is likely vast. Quote, the evidence also consists of physical evidence, which was seized pursuant to search warrants executed at the defendant's residences in Los Angeles and Miami, as well as on his person and the persons of certain co-conspirators. In addition to the firearms and electronics discussed above, the physical evidence also includes other evidence of freak-offs, including over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant. Pretty disgusting.
What was captured on camera is the source of one of the most terrifying rumors to come out of this incident, not what people saw. Security personnel and former insiders claim that covert recording systems, audio bugs, concealed cameras, and surveillance equipment were installed in almost every room of Diddy's residences. Protection wasn't the only reason. It was allegedly about blackmail, power, and leverage. The freak-off parties were put up, not merely crazy activities. And Jay-Z might have been on camera as well, assuming he was ever there as many people think. Perhaps he wasn't breaking any laws, but if it were to leak, it might damage his reputation. The quiet is due to that fear. A single
large-capacity drum magazine from Diddy's home. Since those raids in March, federal prosecutors have been crafting their case against Diddy, which led to grand jury proceedings against him. So he was indicted on Monday and taken into custody, and on Tuesday, that indictment was unsealed. Also on Tuesday, Diddy appeared in federal court where he pleaded not guilty to the charges against him. During the hearing, Diddy was also denied bail, a federal judge ruling he must remain.
The truth always comes out eventually.
Are so stuck in time in the past where, like, they say, oh, don't look into this, don't investigate this, these claims aren't real, but then we see social media sleuths put together these stories and solve investigations. I'm not saying the authorities aren't smart people, they can figure it out, but sometimes the help from the public can lead to, us actually figuring out the truth. But do the authorities want the truth? It really matters who's at the top and who they're trying to protect. Another conspiracy theory that circulated at the time of the raids was that Diddy escaped through an underground tunnel. I do believe he has an escape route planned when it comes to his Miami property because he can easily access the Bahamas through a boat. When it comes to his LA property, he might have a backup plan, which kind of explains these tunnels. Per news reports in March 2024, Diddy's properties in LA and in Miami were raided by Homeland Security. Diddy's LA mansion was located in the upscale neighborhood of Holby Hills, the same neighborhood as the Playboy Mansion. However, there is no known underground tunnel connecting the two. according to this report. People reported that the Playboy Mansion was rumored to have a series of underground tunnels that connected the mansion to other homes in the area. However, one staff member told the site that the tunnels were closed up in some time in 1989. And I don't know why celebrities are so scared to acknowledge these tunnels. I feel like, oh yeah, there's underground tunnels, cool.
As to which
the purported role, control, compliance, and gilded cage of Beyonce.
Diddy hosted these parties, specifically the parties that took place underground. I was absolutely shocked to find out that there is an underground mansion with tennis courts, indoor pools, marble everything, a literal ballroom. And this checks out because Ali Carter was talking about this underground ballroom. Like, actually, imagine being 5 floors beneath the surface. Willing to bet there's no cell service. What are you gonna do? Scream? Run? Where are you gonna go? Actually terrifying to know that this exists. Like, just want to play tennis in my underground mansion. I have no words. It's crazy.
I can't imagine this being real because it seems so dystopian.
Sean Combs, the defendant, used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his and commercial sex. That term is you're going to hear that a lot. Commercial sex. Equate that almost with sex trafficking. Those employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, high-ranking supervisors, and other close associates, acted as Combs' intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. Then it talks about the Combs enterprise, so this criminal enterprise. From at least in or about 2008, so you're going all the way back to 2008, through or on about the date of the filing of this indictment, so even to this day, the defendant and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other things, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. All of these underlying alleged crimes can make up a racketeering case. They are predicate crimes of a criminal enterprise. The Combs enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and its associates, constituted an enterprise. And by the way, let me just take 1 second as I'm reading this. This is also eerily similar to the Rodney Little Rod Jones lawsuit. He was one of the first people to file a lawsuit, former producer of Sean Combs. He alleged violations of racketeering law. So he was the one who made those allegations, and again, very consistent with what we are hearing here. And again, constituted an enterprise as defined under the United States Code, and this is a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. So you can have a criminal enterprise. It doesn't have to be Sean Combs, Inc. If you have a bunch of people, they don't have to be incorporated. It can still be a criminal enterprise.
Beyonce's involvement in the issue is also being questioned as Jay-Z's name is brought up more and more. For years, the power couple has been viewed as invincible, a perfect representation of togetherness, talent, and fortune. Behind the scenes, however, sources tell a different tale. Rumor has it that Beyonce was involved in the control and not only Jay-Z's partner. She was allegedly involved in the control and even assisted in regulating who he interacted with at DZ's partner. At Diddy's parties, she allegedly even assisted
trafficking if everyone wants to be there, okay?
If all the prosecution can offer by way of proof and argument when they put this thing up for trial is that Sean Combs was having threesomes and participating with the enjoyment of legally hired sexual escorts, they're gonna lose, period.
We assembled a mock jury.
He ain't the only dude committing crimes. Seriously, 100 dudes, white dudes in LA doing this right now. Yeah. 100, easy. No, they are not Diddy.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Sean Diddy Combs.
A judge said the defense had 48 hours to request this 2-week adjournment, which would ultimately push back the trial date. So how likely is it that the defense will move forward with this request, and what would their strategy be in doing so?
This information comes from, we believe, the alleged victim number 4. And if there are a lot of text messages that are missing and the defense feels that they need those text messages to try to prove their case, to try to prove that this was consensual sex between a former ex-girlfriend or a former lover, then they say, hey, it's maybe worth it to wait 2 more weeks to get that information.
Turning now to the dismissed civil suit against Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a woman who accused the 2 hip-hop artists of sexual assault when she was 13, dropping that lawsuit on Friday. Diddy and Jay-Z denying any wrongdoing. Jay-Z calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling. Diddy's legal team insisting the dismissal is, quote, yet another confirmation that these lawsuits are built on falsehoods, not facts.
And joining us now with the latest on this is senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky. Aaron, thank you so much for being here. So you were telling us that the accuser in the civil suit dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice, which means they can't file it again. Do we know why?
Well, it's going away entirely, and they did not give a reason. But the defense for Jay-Z and for Sean Combs had said there were glaring inconsistencies in the then 13-year-old's account, which supposedly this took place at the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. Her father had driven her to the location. The father then said he didn't really remember doing that, so that there weren't enough facts to establish what she alleged, even though at first her attorneys stood by her until just this past Friday.
JC comes in and me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him.
Jay-Z and Diddy both deny the now 38-year-old when she was 13. There seemed to be some inconsistencies in the anonymous accuser's claims, including who she says she spoke to at the 2000 VMA after party just prior to the alleged assault.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background.
However, a rep for the Madden says that's impossible because Benji was on tour in the Midwest that day.
Let's go celebrate this.
The accuser, who says she has autism and has suffered a head injury, stands by her allegation, but admits, quote, I have made some mistakes in recollections from that night. As for Jay-Z,
somehow I beat them charges like Rocky.
He wants the civil suit dismissed in light of the inconsistencies and is attacking her Texas attorney, Tony Busby, quote, true justice is coming. This 1-800 lawyer doesn't realize it yet, but soon.
Jay-Z's history resurfaces. Grooming accusations, violence, and industrial domination. As Jay-Z continues to remain mute, more people are beginning to speak up, and their words have the power to completely alter the situation. It is said that Jay-Z cultivated Beyoncé from an early age, which is one of the most sinister allegations of his. Although the official narrative states that they first met when she was 18, insiders assert that he had already begun to influence her life at the age of 16.
Midnight on January 17, 1920, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors became illegal across the United States. During those dry and trying years of Prohibition, how did Angelenos keep their glasses half full? The Volstead Act might have outlawed alcohol, but it couldn't make it disappear. The truth is, clever Angelenos found ways to keep the liquor flowing. Some made their own. Others sold legal medicinal whiskey, prescribed by obliging doctors to treat a host of invented ailments. But most drank foreign booze, illegally imported into the US by criminal cartels. Canadian whiskey and Mexican tequila, served to thirsty patrons at speakeasies across the Southland. What actually remains of Prohibition-era LA? Today, the illicit liquor trade is not well documented in the archives. And when you think about it, that's no surprise, given how risky it was. But maybe there's some history to discover out in the city, in the basements and cellars beneath Los Angeles. I'd heard of a secret passageway downtown, in the back of the city's oldest saloon. I had to explore it for myself.
Even back in the, early 1900s or whatever, 18th century, I always get those confused because it's like 20th century is like supposed to be the 19th century. Comment below if you get confused by that too, or am I just like too dyslexic? Either way, underground tunnels are a thing. They're a part of history. Why is everyone being weird about the Playboy Mansion? Just like, it was a time back then. They've closed it up. Just acknowledge them.
You and Jack Nicholson had your own secret passageway into the Playboy Mansion.
The site also reported that Diddy listed his LA home for sale shortly before the arrest. A source said that Diddy had lived in his Miami property for years now and was planning to sell his LA home once his daughters grew up and moved out. The house was listed for $61 million. It has 10 bedrooms, 13 bathrooms, and a 2-story guest house. So way too much room. I can't imagine having that property. I would want all my friends to live there, my entire family.
Have you looked into the Playboy Mansion in Hugh Hefner? The Playboy Mansion has blueprints showing that he had tunnels built back in the 70s. Now, these tunnels were used for celebrities to gain access to the mansion and whatnot, but I'm like, the mansion's pretty secluded and heavily guarded already. What do you need tunnels for? Hugh Hefner, he was no angel himself. He had this thing every Thursday night called Pig Night. This is a real thing. It's documented. So he had these pimps from Sunset Boulevard, brought all the up to the mansion, and he was like, hey, you know, how many pigs you got tonight? He called the women pigs, right? Sounds like trafficking to me. And then I get a tweet and somebody said, hey, I know somebody who actually used to drive the carts underground in the Playboy Mansion. It don't only connect, allegedly, to Diddy's house, but it goes to other celebrities' houses too. The craziest story is that before he died, he had a stipulation when he was selling the Playboy Mansion that he had to live there as you were living there, and he wanted to die there. So you want to be there until the day you die. Are you trying to hide something? Are you trying to make sure they don't see?
After then, there are rumors of violence. Matthew Knowles, Beyoncé's father, reportedly had to intervene following a private incident in which Jay-Z allegedly hit her. Many fans don't think it's true, but some who have studied the industry closely claim it has been discussed.
About P. Diddy, why?
Because he's an actor.
But like, how come everybody's so silent?
Well, he's a big drip. I think he's a real big drip. They just uncovered tunnels underneath his house.
Diddy's?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. I've never been. I don't know him. I don't like him. And I really don't like what he did to those women and men.
What could the tunnels be used for?
What do you think?
Taking people in and out from the Playboy Mansion to what? I don't know. I don't know. Like a dungeon or something?
No.
Are there tunnels under there? Like, people are saying there's tunnels.
Tunnels for what?
Well, tunnels from the Playboy Mansion to Diddy's. Jason, hey, my man, do you have any reaction to the Diddy scandal? Any reaction?
No reaction.
No reaction? Oh, man.
What's in that room back there? It's the backyard, but it's locked from the back. You done been to one of them islands before, huh? No, I have not, but guess how far that's my neighbor? Who? Diddy. Okay, all right, let's just, come on, man. Hey, let's go on the restaurant. Let's just go.
Celebrity hysteria, freak-off tapes, and the impending collapse. If the rumors are accurate,
Diddy's house in Los Angeles, California, worth $61 million. The home spans over 17,000 square feet, with 8 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms. Features include a 35-seat movie theater, a 3,000 square foot guest house, and an underwater swimming tunnel. Diddy has just been arrested, and he has pleaded not guilty.
This is where Puff Daddy, Sean Combs is he supposedly owns 2 mansions over here. This one and this one. This place is called Star Island. And not too far away is this huge place for cargo containers. And if you know anything about the whole trafficking narrative, you know what goes into these cargo containers and why someone like Puff Daddy would want to live so close to where a bunch of them are.
People love to tell stories of legends falling from grace. It will no longer be about Diddy if even one recording is released. Jay-Z is going to make news. Beyoncé is going to have to talk. The internet is also not going to hold back. The next step might completely change the industry. Therefore, they are holding their breath. Is Beyoncé in? The couple's close friends and family are now speaking out after the rumors became news. Beyoncé has been getting ready to end the relationship in a discreet but firm manner, according to many industry insiders. We're not referring to simply leaving. Our topic is financial strategy. According to insiders, she has been consulting with financial and legal counsel for several months, modifying their prenuptial agreements, dividing assets, and establishing whole new investing avenues that are only in her name have all been discussed. Her recent concentration on solo endeavors, tours, brand launches, and public rebranding are allegedly all components of a larger plot to achieve complete independence. when a now-deleted Instagram story surfaced in September showing an event planner's phone screen with a rudimentary map named Tunnel A. Tunnel B, Tunnel C social media lighted up the post, lasted less than 2 minutes, but screenshots went everywhere in. That moment, anyone defending Diddy needed to explain why a screenshot showed. Then there's Jay-Z. Insiders describe him as plummeting behind the scenes, despite once being the most collected and calculated person in Hollywood. Not in public, of course. He still makes an appearance when called upon, but in private, that's another matter. He has reportedly grown more emotional, suspicious, and alone. He reportedly stopped communicating with some of his acquaintances, severed his relationship with longtime pals, and became fixated on identifying those who might be leaking information or plotting